How's it? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Gooner Show. I am joined up top beside me, Tony Turner, out in Oklahoma. Tony, thanks for joining me. Right below me, from the Arse Bros podcast, Ryan. Oh, boy, it's going to be...
You said blowing you. I thought you said right blowing me. Oh,
it's going to be that kind of a party already, I see. And down in the bottom right corner, I've got Stan the Man from beautiful, sunny Vancouver.
Oh, that's
Stan. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
So, right off the bat here, fellas, we've had a lot of news doing the round so far this week with new contracts being handed out. David Luiz gets his 1-year contract extension. We signed Cedric Soares on a free, gave him a 4-year contract. We extended Danny Ceballos' loan for, I believe, another season, and we finalized the Pablo Mari transfer, made that permanent. And somebody clue me in on what the transfer fee was, because I know it's a done deal, but I never did see what the actual transfer fee was, and then turned around and gave him a 4-year contract. So right off the bat, we are going to discuss basically the contracts. I don't agree with the David Luiz contract at all, and I don't think there's one Arsenal supporter that will argue with me. I'm not 100% against either the Soares deal, since it's on a free. And that the more I think about it, the less I hate that deal. I don't hate extending Danny Ceballos' loan for another year, and I think that's actually kind of a smart move, just because of the way that this season, with the pandemic and the interruption to the season, I think that's actually a smart little bit of business there to extend the loan one more season. And then Pablo Mari is the great unknown. We just don't know. We haven't seen enough of him to say, yeah, this is a good deal. No, it's not. At the end of the day, I think the worst thing with the Mari deal is depth. I think that'll be what he's here for. Hopefully, it's a depth signing. But let's start with David Luiz right off the bat. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely terrible. When fans are allowed back in the stadiums and Arsenal play their first match, when he steps foot on the field, it is going to be a shitstorm of boos, the likes of which Granit Xhaka hasn't even heard.
Oh, you think so? I don't know.
I guarantee it.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, man. Granit Xhaka, for all of the shit that he has put us through, that we have put him, well, not us particularly, but some in this fan base have put him through. He has not given away penalties at the rate that David Luiz has.
I was going to say, he definitely has.
He definitely has, but not at the rate that David Luiz has. And the same thing with the red cards. David Luiz, it's almost as though he is trying to sabotage this club. And once again, when you look at it, he's a Chelsea reject. They didn't want him because he had a falling out with Frank Lampard. So what do? Oh, sure. We'll take your garbage over here. One man's trash is another man's treasure. My ass, especially in this situation. So, Tone, I'm going to start with you on David Luiz. What's your take?
Should have let him go. No reason to re-sign him. I would have kept Juur-ab-Che or Mustafi before him. There's too many mistakes.
Ryan?
Okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I'm gonna try my best, because I don't agree with deep down. I think this is a stupid move, but I'm gonna try to spin it to where it's actually like not terrible. So it's tough because we have this, like, in a way we have these shit colored glasses on, where like our last game that we saw of him, in 25 minutes he managed to concede 2 penalties and concede 2 goals essentially and get sent off in the process. So obviously we're not thinking too highly of him, but besides that, you could I'm not saying he is. You could argue he's been our best defender, which isn't obviously saying much. I get that. So you have that, and then on top of that, we have a young 18-year-old, 18, 19, I don't know, William Saliba coming into the team. Now, David Luiz is known to be, someone who can kind of show people the way. I don't agree with it, but it's been said. So maybe they're bringing him on for the year. Be like, you know what? Bring Luis in. He could show Saliba what's going on. Kind of, go through the motions. Kind of get him integrated with Arsenal. Although I don't even think David Luiz is integrated with Arsenal. But that's not. But that's probably not what the hierarchy is thinking. So if you look at it from that standpoint, I don't hate it as much as everybody else does because, yeah, obviously the last game we saw him, we all had our pitchforks out and we're after him. But yeah, and then on top of that, with this whole COVID thing, I don't know what's going to happen. This could be Arteta and the board saying, "Hey, we're re-signing Luis. We know you don't like it, but don't expect much from us. This was our only move." That's like like playing chess. You're in a corner and you literally have only one move to make. And yeah, is it the right move? No, but it could be the only move they make. I know we have money stashed away, but maybe they have no, need to. They don't plan on buying or selling. Buying players. So we don't know. But I don't hate it as much as everybody else, but I still don't like it. So yeah.
One other thing, Stan, before I bring you in on this, I will say I don't like the deal, but if there's another center back that comes in, David Luiz at this point now is Mustafi to me. Less is going to be more with him. The less he plays, the better he's probably going to be. If against Manchester City, if David Luiz had to come on in the last 30 minutes of that game, everything being equal, if David Luiz comes on in the last 30 minutes of that game, I don't think the result changes all that much. But because he ended up playing when did he come on? About 25 minutes. So he played 55 minutes total, give or take.
I thought only paid 25 minutes. He got sent off the 55th minute.
Oh, that's right. I'm all right. But it just seems like at that point when he comes on, he's just trying too hard. So less is going to be more for me with David Luiz. If he ends up being a depth center half for this club, it's not horrible.
Yeah,
I don't like the money that we've spent, but it's going to depend on what the rest of the business in the transfer window is. As that'll be the final verdict for me. So Stan, off you go. Stan, you there?
Is he frozen now?
I had a bit of you froze on me there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Yep, go ahead.
So the first thing that jumped into my mind when I heard that he'd been given a 1-year extension was, well, if Aubameyang does leave the club in the summer, then it wouldn't surprise me if we see David Luiz as the captain of Arsenal.
Oh, no.
That frightens me. Because there's a lot of, the way that, when Mikel Arteta has been spoken about him in the past, there's the word leader. It comes up a lot about how much he is a leader. And the only compliment I've paid David Luiz since he's come to our club was, if you remember in some of those early games where he would get everybody into a huddle and they'd all come into the huddle and it was David Luiz who was doing all of the talking and everybody was hanging off of his every word. And I like that. But there's two sides to him, right? You've got the guy that's off the field that they say is a lovely guy when everything's happy. When he's happy around the club. He's a great guy to be around. But the sort of money that he's being paid to play football. He's not being paid to just hang around the club, be nice, be friendly, and be a mentor. He actually has to play football. And the mistakes that he has made, I mean, it's a ballsy move to offer him that 1-year contract for me. So, but what else could have been done? And I was thinking about that, and I thought to myself, well, was there no way that a move could have been made whereby we say, okay, we're just going to extend you to the end of this season, and then we're going to part company, which I believe the club would have been allowed to have done. And then what I would have done is I would have also maybe promoted Zach Medley and Daniel Ballard up from the under 23s and think, look, the season's a write-off, right? There's no way, we're not going to get to where we want to be. Let's have a look at these young kids. Let's rotate them a little bit. Let's maybe see if they sink or swim. If anything goes wrong, we've still got David Luiz there as cover to the end of the season, but we haven't saddled ourselves with him for the next year. And I know a lot of people out there would say, well, maybe those young kids ain't ready. But I always think back to Ashley Cole and how he actually got into the team. He came into the team because we were ravaged in that position. There was no one else to put in there. He was basically given the nod, and the rest of it writes its own story. You know, it wasn't the plan, but he turned out being, lauded as one of the best players in the world in his position. So I was just trying to think of what other opportunities I would have done, and that's the way that I would have gone. Because, like you say, I can't think of a single Arsenal fan that is happy that David Luiz is going to turn out again in an Arsenal shirt. So it's a very, very ballsy move by me for them to give him another year.
And also, too, like the fact that we, extended him, that must mean the whole click rumors about him having his own click. That's got to be false, then, right? Because there's no way we would extend him knowing that that's a thing in the dressing room. Also, I guess that's good. That's good to hear in a way.
But do the powers that be know that it's a thing?
They'd have to. If it's leaking in social media, they'd have to know. If Arteta knows, Arteta's got to tell the higher ups.
I'm sure Arteta would know about it before us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Arteta would be like, "I'm not. Why would you sign this? He's a cancer to our locker room." So obviously, it's got to be false. I mean, who knows though?
The only thing I've seen on social media, sort of defending, and I'm not even going to say defending the move, but it's basically what we've all pretty much just said, which is, okay, he supposedly has these good traits about him. He's supposedly a good leader. He could be a good mentor. He could be, he might, do well as a depth signing. Ray just said in the comments, extending Luiz's banter for other fans, and that's exactly right. We're being laughed at.
We've been being laughed at.
It's getting worse, because at this point now, and I guess this is going to segue into the backroom staff, the hierarchy, and the way that business is done at this club. And forgive me here for a minute, fellas, but I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant with this. Why on earth, if the end-all, be-all decision is going to be with Raul Sanllehi, who is not even really going to look for input from Edu or Arteta, why do we even have them? Arteta, okay, you say he's the coach. He's the guy that's got to put the team out on the field, get them ready to go. He's got to run practice, so on and so forth. But these guys are professionals. They could do that on their own. I'm sorry, but they could. So if Sanllehi is just going to go into his black book of agent contacts and just call up this, I don't even know how you say his name, Juur-ab-Che or however you say his name, I have no idea. But if this is all he's going to do and just go to him and say, okay, what do you got? Let's, do you have 18 clients that you can give us to put out on the field? This is ridiculous. I've never in my life, I'm 41 years old and I've been a sports fan since I was old enough to shit. I've never in my life heard of a sports team being run this way, where it's a good old boys network. That's what it is. It's a good old boys network. That's unacceptable. And it stuns me. I'll be quite honest with you. The fact that we have American owners, and I know the three sports teams, the three major sports teams here in America that they own, and I know the way that they're run. I am stunned that they would actually let this football club be run the way that it is supposedly being run. And there's a lot of shit out there right now in the media, in the UK, slamming this club for exactly what it's doing. Whoever wants to jump in, go for it. Free for all at this point, boys.
My biggest worry, touching on Raul Sanllehi, is his job title. His job title is head of football. It's not contracts, it's not anything like that. It's the head of football. And for me, someone to have that title, I'd be looking at someone like, I'll just pick a name, like a Kenny Dalglish, a Glenn Hoddle. I'm getting at a director of football, someone that's really been in the game, played the game, maybe an ex-manager. Arsene Wenger that's a sort of a title I would associate with a head of football. So he's got that job title. And then you've got Edu, who is director of football. And then you got the other guy that does the contract. So it just worries me that this guy Sanllehi, who, he's known for having a contact book system. And I get that. And, he could be head of contacts or contracts. But to call him a head of football, it sounds really grandiose for who he is and what he's actually done in the game for me.
Yeah, I mean, no complaints here. I mean, hit the nail right on the head. I honestly, to be honest, I don't really have much to say about this, just because I don't really know the ins and outs of this club. I don't like you guys are talking about, like director of football. Like, there's so many titles, there's so many names that are constantly being talked about and thrown into this hierarchy. And yet, like, what do they do? What are the ins and outs of their job? Who does what? Who does this? Who does that? Like you're saying with the, with his contacts and the contracts. Yeah, it's a whole. I just don't even know, because and then on top of that, I think it's even deeper. I think we're just not scouting the right players. Whether it's like making sure we secure the guy and all that mumbo jumbo, which we failed to do in recent memory, but I just think our scouting in general is just way off base, and I don't know how we get that back. How we get that back. I want back Diamond Eyes, to be honest, but
Well, that guy, the guy whose name we can't say, Juur-ab-Che or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Apparently he's in the director's box for every game now. Pally with Raul. They high five when things are going good. So they probably haven't been high fiving a lot lately, to be fair. But just after the David Luiz calamity show, he was on Talk Sport Radio. He was on Talk Sport Radio, on national radio, right? Kyo, whatever his name is, talking about the failings of Arsenal's midfield, and talking, when did that ever happen? When did an agent doing business with Arsenal would be allowed to go on radio and talk about technical stuff? Well, it's not exactly. You can't blame everything on David. Maybe you could look up how the midfield in front of him is set. This guy's an agent, and he's allowed to go on the radio, talk like this, and then go back to the club for the next match. All sweet as a nut. I mean, when back in the days, if an agent representing a player had done that, they'd probably say to the player, don't ever bring that guy to meetings or change your representative. And they'd probably never do business with that guy again. Even if the guy's got access to some players that are interested, they'd cut their nose off to spite the face, because Arsenal don't like all that sort of stuff. They don't like the dirty laundry being washed in public.
So, Ryan, to sort of expand on what you had said and not really understanding the positions and things of that nature, I said this on Arsenal Fan Circle last week. So Raul, being the director of football, he's at the top. Other than ownership, he's at the top. Oh. So in terms of decision making, especially with personnel, that's where he is. So every decision, for the most part, goes through him. I would think every decision. I shouldn't say for the most part. I think every decision goes through Raul. Below him is Edu. Now, what Edu's job, in my opinion, should be is director of scouting, to put a different spin on it. I believe his official title is technical director. And I know that he is also heavily involved with the academy. So he oversees the academy, which is fine, because that is, in European football, the academy is part of, in my opinion, that's part of scouting. You've got to know what you have down there. You've got to know, okay, do I have players that I think are ready to come through and make a first team appearance? And then you have Arteta, who obviously is the head coach. So I was never a fan of the one man show, kind of what it was with Wenger, especially at the beginning for him, where he was sort of the end all be all. He was the manager, but he was also the guy pretty much solely responsible for making decisions. I shouldn't say at the very beginning, because he wasn't. But into the middle of his tenure with Arsenal and towards the end, he was the only guy really that made any decisions based on personnel. What needs to happen is, if Sanley's going to be here, and they fired the majority of the recruitment team. Now, did you fire them because they're incapable of doing their jobs? Did you fire them because Raul wants to go to this good old boys network of transfer business? I think it's the last. Well, it's a little bit of the sooner, because we've really been bad at recruitment for the last decade, give or take. And Raul wants to, so he gets rid of them on that front, but at the same time says, well, this is just the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to this guy, here. In fact, Ray actually put it out. Kia Juur-ab-Che. Juur-ab-Che, I don't know. Close enough. But he goes to this guy and basically says, okay, so you're my guy now. You're my guy. Oh, by the way, he's Edu's agent. He is Luiz's agent. He is Soares' agent. Might be – I'm trying. He's not Mari's agent. I know that. There's another guy that is Mari's agent that was affiliated with Emery. So Unai Emery. So figure that out. So Unai Emery gets a job based on the same sort of principles here. You know, I'm going to go to this guy and say, okay, who do you have available to manage this club? You know, and it's just an awful way to do business. The way it needs to be done is Arteta is the guy who says, these are the positions that I think we need to fill in the transfer window. That kind of goes up the chain. It goes to Edu, who's got the academy thing going on, and says, okay, don't think I have anybody in the academy right now that's ready to fill in these positions, so we need to dip into the transfer market. So now, from there, you send your scouting teams out to watch live games, start scouting these players with their scouting instructions, and I'm starting to sound like a freaking video game. For those that play FIFA and you play franchise mode, this is exactly what it is. But that's the way a sports team runs. You have a scouting department. They go out. They identify players based on the head coach and the GM and the director of scouting, their instructions. What kind of players are we looking for? And then from there, you come back. You have a meeting with Raul. If these are going to be the guys in the positions, you have the meetings with Raul, and Raul says, okay, I'll go. I'll call up I'll call up the club. Let's just use Thomas Partey as an example because everybody wants him. So Raul now says, okay, we've identified we want Thomas Partey. So now I'm going to call up his counterpart at Atletico Madrid, and they're going to work it out. That should be the way it works. But now all of a sudden, and I saw a thing earlier today where Arsenal spent £13.5 million on intermediaries to negotiate contracts. Well, isn't that Hasfami's job? And shouldn't that be part of Raul's job? Yep. So Stan, you're dead on with what really does Raul? What's his experience? Because at this point, you're right. I don't think he's ever kicked the ball in his life. So why can't I get the job? I think I've got half a brain. I think I could do the job, and I think I could do it pretty well. So why can't I get the job? I'm not asking you that seriously, but
who's making the decisions? You know, when I was moaning online about some of the contracts, and we've touched on David Luiz, we haven't gone in on the others yet. You know, the retort that came back to me, and I get a lot of fans. You know, by me complaining about the contracts, a lot of fans take it that I'm complaining about Mikel Arteta, and they get very, very protective that if they think that anyone's coming for Mikel Arteta. But like I said before, you know, you can want the manager to succeed, but also, you know, critique any failings that you might see. And the retort that I got back is, well, you don't know that Mikel Arteta is even 100% involved in these contracts that were offered. So my question is then, you know, if he's not 100% involved, at what percentage level is our head coach involved with, you know, offering new contracts to players or saying that he doesn't want a player or making suggestions of who he's going to bring in? And if it isn't Mikel Arteta and he's not 100% involved, then we've got a bigger problem. If it is our head of football who's making decisions of what players are coming in, because as I said before, he's not like a Kenny Dalglish or a Glenn Hoddle or even a David Pleat, someone that's in and around the game and you know, can look at a footballer and work out whether the guy, you know, has got anything about him. It might be worth pursuing. I don't see how Raul has that experience to do that. And
yeah. When he was at Barcelona, he was a negotiator. That's what he was. So why? Okay, so if he's a negotiator, if he was a negotiator, if that's his forte, which is great because you know what, we need guys like that to do these things. But we apparently have one in Hasfami. I think that's how you say Huss's last name is Fami. But we have that lead negotiator in Hasfami. So again, Stan, to your point, what is it that Raul is here to do? And I can tell you now, I remember when he was hired that basically everyone was saying he was brought in for one reason and one reason only, and it is because of the contacts that he has made in the football world. And while there is something to be said for that, it is not the end-all, be-all of running a sports team. That really, while it's a good thing, and it is about building relationships, that can't be the end-all, be-all in terms of decision-making on players that you're going to bring in. We were talking off the air before we went live, and Stan, you asked a really good question. What is if you had to, so if we're taking Raul, if we're taking Edu, and we're taking Arteta, and these are the three guys that are going to, they're going to talk, and they're going to, figure out who we want to sign, who we want to give extensions to, so on and so forth. What is the percentage of their input, or what is the percentage of their, I'll say, their
influence,
making power? Raul, being in the position that he's in, should probably have a little bit more say than the other two. But that being said, it's not. It really should probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40% to Raul and 30% each to Arteta and to Edu, in my opinion. That's how I would break it down. Raul, to me, what he should focus on the most is the money. Can we afford this player? So he gets a list of 3 players from Arteta, say, okay, so in one particular position, and again, we'll use Thomas Partey as the example. So he's a central midfielder. You bring in 2 other, you pair up 2 other guys. Here's your list. So you've got Partey, player B, player C. You then take this list to Raul and say, okay, here are the 3 players we've identified. We want one of these 3. Of the 3, which can we afford? Raul says we can afford any of them. So who's your preference? So then it becomes a matter of Arteta saying, okay, this is the guy that I think is going to best fit my system. Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, I mean, I cast my mind back to under the Unai Emery era, where he identified a player in Wilfried Zaha who he felt had the traits for what he needed to improve the team. Spoke with the player, everything's he got to make sure that the player was on board. Went to Raul, said, "This is the player that I've identified, and this is the reasons why." But then when he went to the airport to go and meet him off the plane, Nicolas Pepe got off the plane. And this is at a time when they weren't talking about getting rid of him then. They were talking about actually extending Unai Emery's contract. Yeah. So if they were able to give Unai Emery, which I'd call it the runaround, because it isn't the player that he wanted, and Unai Emery, this wasn't his first rodeo, it frightens me that if they can get away with it with him, that they may be sort of like, giving the runaround a little bit to Mikel Arteta. And I think it might have been on Fan Circle the other week where I said, I've got the feeling where he gets himself worked up to go into the office to talk about Thomas Partey or Upamecano, and this is what I want to do. And I want to come out of that meeting. I want to come out with either Partey or Upamecano. I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to stick to my guns. He goes into the office, and when he walks out, he stands in the hallway and says, "Fuck! I've just agreed to sign Joe Hart. How did that happen? How did they do that to me? That's not what I went in there for." And somehow they're able to bamboozle him and send him back out the door. It's worrying if that's how. And just to touch on Joe Hart, this is another thing as well, right? We've got a backup keeper who's been at our club for about 10 years or so. He's our backup keeper. Now he's got an opportunity to come in and back up. That's what he's being paid to do. And when I read things that we're looking at players like Joe Hart and an even worse, Claudio Bravo, if I was Emi Martin, I'd be walking into the office. Exactly. I'd be marching into the office and saying, look, if I'm not going to get a chance to back up, then we may as well just part company now, because I've been waiting for my chance. At least let the guy back up until the end of the season. And if Leno's not going to be back, at that point we can then say we've given this guy a run of games. He's dropped his points, so he's not good enough. Now maybe we should look at bringing someone else in. But at least we tried this guy from in-house. It's a mockery.
I actually think that will happen. I actually think that right now because the next man up, because you have to back up now. You have to back up Martinez. So that's Matt Macy, I believe. I think Matt Macy, he never went alone. So it's Matt Macy. And I think right now the club might be looking at, and I will play devil's advocate here for you, Stan. I think the club is looking at Joe Hart or Claudio Bravo as a backup to the backup. I wouldn't look at Joe Hart and say you're better than Emi Martinez right now, because I don't think that's the case at all. I think the job as Martinez is till the end of the season. I don't think they trust Matt Macy in case Martinez gets injured. So I think they're looking for a backup for the quote unquote backup. So I'm not at all upset at looking at Joe Hart only because he's played in the Premier League. I don't want him to start. I want Martinez to start. So if Joe Hart's the backup right now, and I'd be okay with Joe Hart being the backup to Emi Martinez.
But again, I mean, if Matt Macy is our third in line goalkeeper, and now because of an injury, the backup keeper is moving up to the first spot, shouldn't number 3 move up to number 2? Shouldn't he have the experience now of going along on match days and sitting on the bench?
You would,
and watching the game and doing that. I mean, because how many games have you got left now to the end of the season? Give them an opportunity. At least we can say we tried. And it's not like we're doing it and we're in, the quarterfinals of a Champions League in our campaign. We've lost our number 1 goalkeeper and, there's a lot at stake. There's nothing at stake. And this is the reason why I said before, was there a way of maybe only giving David Luiz a contract until the summer and promoting Ballard and Medley and giving them an opportunity and let's see if they've got what it takes to step up.
I'm all for it. And I'll tell you this: I think if the club were serious about a signing a backup to the backup, I think we would have done it by now. Just because, look, we've got a game tomorrow, we've got a game Sunday. I think if you're going to do it, I mean, right now Matt Macy's the backup. He's going to be on the bench in uniform tomorrow at St. Mary's. He's probably going to be dressed as the backup on Sunday at Sheffield United. So I think if the Joe Hart thing or anyone else were going to come in to back up Martinez, I think you would have gotten it by now, because there's really just once this weekend is over. Tony, correct my math here if I'm wrong. I think we only have 7 league matches left. Is it 6 or 7? It's close. 7. So what's really the point? And like you said, at this point, I got to be honest, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here about this, but other than the FA Cup, I don't really know what there is left to play for.
No.
Everton is a decent side, and now that they're above us in the table, nothing at this point is guaranteed. If we go down to St. Mary's tomorrow and get thrashed 4-0 and Danny Ings scores a hat trick, Ryan, I'm not going to be shocked at all. I'm not going to be shocked at all. The
good thing is they're better away than they are at home, so that's like our.
Yeah. Well,
I'm looking at
I wasn't going to get into too much of a preview yet. I think we'll dive into that a little bit towards the end. Anybody else want to jump in on the backroom staff thing, Tony? You got anything to add on it?
I just think it's stupid using a black book to go and sign players instead of using your scouting networks and firing all 10 of your youth scouts. And I don't know how many of our senior scouts we got rid of. It just makes no sense at all in any professional sport, let alone world football. It just blows the mind that we've done that.
I want to ask each of you guys a real quick question, and it's just to satisfy my own sheer curiosity. Tony, I'll start with you.
8 inches.
What's that, Ryan?
I said 8 inches.
8.5.
Around. Think about it. Tony, are you more of a stats and analytics guy, or are you more an eye test guy?
Eye test.
Eye test? Ryan?
See, I would say I go first to eye test, and then I look at the stats and analytics. So okay. I kind of do both.
And the question isn't you have to pick one and the other one sucks. The question is which would you, if you were head of football, which would you be more inclined to place more faith in? Because I think both have a role to play. I'm an eye test guy. I just what I see, that's what I will go with. I will look at the analytics and I'll look at the stats, But by and large, I'm going with the eye test. Stan, what do you say?
I like Ryan said, I like a little bit of both. But if I can only choose one, and you're saying that there's only one method that I can choose.
No. Which method would you place more emphasis on? You can have both.
Okay, yeah. You have to see the player, right? Because someone comes into you and goes, "Hey, look at this guy. We need this guy in the middle of our midfield." And you look at the stats, and it says, "Wow, he's got a 98% pass completion rate. Yeah, we'll have some of that." And then you see him, and he passes backwards all the time. you know.
So we had our own analytics team. We had our own Stat DNA. Then Arsenal bought them to have it exclusively for the club, and now we've gone out and we've fired our recruitment team. So now it's almost like we're.
I was reading just today. Sven Mislintat's done an interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that when he was at Arsenal, that there was no plan. He could not see a clear plan of what was going on, and he actually he suggested to Raul that they need to trim some of their scouts. He felt that there were too many, and that it's something that they could streamline. And they were working a mixture of videos, data analytics, and actually, seeing players as well, and then seeing if anybody, had a contact for that player. So it was a little bit of everything. But he said that Raul was really against trimming the scouts. And he says, and now that I've left, what have they done? They've gone out and they've trimmed all of the scouts. So he's trying to say, they're all over the place. They'll say something on Monday, but then you'll see them on Wednesday, and they've totally gone the other way. Yeah.
Yep. And I did see, we were talking in a group chat on Twitter, and Tony, you may have said this, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus when I say this, but you're not the only one to say it, that Sven's kind of a, maybe he's a disgruntled ex-employee, and he's trying to throw a little bit of shade, and he might very well be, but he's not wrong. Everything I read from Sven Mislintat and what he had to say, he's not wrong. He might be throwing shade, but he's not wrong.
Yep.
So let's move on, because I feel like, again, as I've said before, guys, I feel like I could go down this road just ad nauseum. I really do. It's
3 or 4 hours easily.
Oh, easily. I could go on about this for days, just days. And by the time I was done, I would have you guys convinced that I should be the one in charge of Arsenal Football Club. I promise you, my grandfather told me a long time ago, either dazzle with brilliance or baffle with bullshit. I'm a baffler, believe me.
So Rohan's here, and he's still got the hump with me, isn't he? Look, he's got the hump with me.
Yeah.
He's got the camel with me.
Rohan.
So we've done David Luiz, right? Whose contract are we going to do next?
Yeah, you know what?
What about that Uber guy?
Yeah. Not yet, Tone. Not yet. Touch on. I'll let Tony go ahead on Danny Ceballos. What do you think about extending his loan for a year?
I thought we were just doing it through the end of the season. I didn't think we were doing it for.
Me too.
It's the end of the season.
Is it the end of the season? So it's not for next year. See, this stuff to me, this is another thing I don't understand about this. Is UEFA really saying that, okay, contracts that ran out on June 30th are running out on June 30th, despite the fact that there was a 3-month interruption to European football? And they're saying, well, we don't care about that if the contract ends June 30th. Extend the fucking thing to the end of the season, for crying out loud. Like, am I crazy, or is this just common fucking sense? So wait, so if you're a team, so say you're a team that went out and loaned in 8 or 9 players, and the loan ends on June 30th, what the fuck do you do? If you don't extend, if UEFA doesn't say, and you've got to go out and apparently now pay to extend the loan more, how does that make any fucking sense? Somebody, I don't know. Can anybody tell me?
I don't think he leaves on the 30th. Whenever the season ends, I don't know if it ends before the 30th or the 1st or whatever. That's when
it ends in like mid-July. But what I'm saying, Stan, is that it would common sense to me would say that we've extended the season later than what the season should have ended. Yeah. I believe the loan would have terminated somewhere around June 30th. So he would have take the pandemic out of it, take the 3-month layoff out of it. We play through the entire season, okay? And the league season ends March 8th or May 18th. That was the last game against Watford of the season. Now, the loan is extended through there for European football in case we make it to the Europa League final. So, and again, I think it would have ran through the end of June, give or take. But does it not stand to reason that since the season was interrupted and we've restarted the season, that loan would just automatically be extended? Why do we have to announce that we're extending it to the end of the season? Wouldn't it just automatically happen?
No, you have to individually sign them.
See, because when I hear that we've extended Danny Ceballos, I'm thinking the loan has been extended another year.
No.
So again, maybe I misunderstood that. So I'll go fuck myself then.
And then a deadline of the 23rd to extend the one on the 30th.
So then, to me, this isn't really much of a topic.
With Danny Ceballos, I think the wind has changed a little bit of him, definitely in the Arsenal fan base, because up until a point, I remember, Danny Ceballos, because of the game against Burnley, a lot of people that I've spoken to, who shall remain nameless, there's a few that love Danny Ceballos. I've spoken to someone today who was like, he would love to see Danny Ceballos have his loan extended for another season. And when I think about it, my conclusion with Danny Ceballos, from day one when he came, I knew that it was only going to be a part-time thing. Danny Ceballos made it quite clear when his first announcement, when it all came out that this player from Real Madrid was going to come to Arsenal on loan, and he was spoken to about it, it was quite obvious that he was putting himself in a shop window with every intention of trying to secure a place for Real Madrid. Okay, and a lot of the fans, as he sort of like when he came to us and he started being in the squad, we should definitely buy him at the end of the loan. And I was thinking, well, it doesn't work like that. He doesn't want that for a start. The player does not want that. And if you remember when he went out with his short injury, and he wasn't even quite fit when he was coming back, he started kind of like pissing and moaning about, well, if he doesn't get minutes, he might have to end the loan prematurely and go somewhere else because of the World Cup, and he needs to be in the shop window. So, I always felt that he was a little bit mercenary. But if you bring in a midfielder on loan, I always thought that, let's say you've got two choices in your midfield. You've got a guy that's coming on loan, and you've got another lad that's been at your club ever since he was a child, and he's worked his way up the ranks, and he's now in and around the first team squad. If you're giving more minutes to the guy on loan, and you've got a fair inkling that it's never going to be made permanent, that tells me a lot about what you think of the young kid. And so, on the one hand, I've got fans telling me how much they love Joe Willock, and I'm wrong, and the game doesn't pass him by, and he deserves his place in the squad. But then the same fans will say to me that they want Danny Ceballos to have his loan extended for another season. And I'm like, well, then someone's going to have to suffer, because if we keep him for another season, that means AJ Maitland-Niles ain't going to get the minutes. And if we bring back Emil Smith-Rowe, when's he going to play? So Danny Ceballos for me should have always been a bit part player, and we should have been concentrating on what we had. Just to finish on him, I did a poll when I said that the wind has changed on him. A lot of people seem to have liked Danny Ceballos, but I done a poll about 3 days ago asking, at the end of Danny Ceballos' loan period, Arsenal should, and the choices were return him to Madrid or move heaven and earth to make him permanent. And only 8% want to keep him now. So that's a big change. Only 8% wanted us to make the move permanent.
I was at the home opener against Burnley, and he put on a show against Burnley. He really hasn't done much since, if I'm being honest with you.
And if you've got a player like that can turn it on, or was that a fluke? He either turned it on and he hasn't bothered, or it was a bit of a fluke. But I've always felt that even if Danny Ceballos said, yeah, I want to stay at Arsenal, why would we, for me, it's always about the convenient option. Once a player comes into Arsenal, we shouldn't be afraid to look at them and say, nah, move them on and let's start again and look somewhere else. But because he was already here, because he had the shirt on, it was convenient. Is he really worth spending between 40 to 50 million euros to make Danny Ceballos permanent?
Not at all. They're that I'd much rather have.
We're nodding our heads now, but you go back maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and a lot of people would say, yeah. And I always thought to myself, for 40, 50 million, you could do much better.
Yeah,
you could do much better.
Yeah. Ryan, go ahead. Jump in on Danny Ceballos.
The only thing I will say too that no one really mentioned too was I would kind of looking at it from as a manager standpoint, you want to play Ceballos too. Just another based on the fact is, hey, he comes from a big club in Real Madrid. I want to keep that. I want to keep that relationship going. If we need someone down the line that Real Madrid has, we could tell him, hey, we played Ceballos every chance we got. It's always about keeping the communication lines open, keeping the olive branch extended. So I was all for playing him as much as we could. I was all for playing him over the likes of Willock and stuff. But I don't think it's worked out. I don't think he's a player we really need or want or could fit into our system going forward. Although our system and the way we're playing isn't great to begin with anyway. But just looking at it from obviously what we can be, I just don't think he's someone that we really need. And if he, like you said, if he and everyone's been saying, if he doesn't want to be here, cool. Let's just make it stay comfortable. Let's keep Real Madrid happy, and then if we need a little hand job down the line, they're willing to help us out because we did them a solid.
We'll just meet them in the Walmart car park and get it done.
Right? Yeah, lipstick and everything.
Ball gag, but
assless chaps.
Off the tracks. Tony, go ahead on Danny Ceballos.
To me, we still haven't seen enough of him. He's injured, but now I don't know if I'd extend him for another year or not. We just haven't really seen enough of him. But there are too many other good midfielders out there. Go ahead and sign them instead of dicking around. Go ahead and pay Party's release clause and get him in.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that Ray asked in the comments. Why didn't we extend these players a week ago? Ray, I'll say this. It's kind of like if you I'm going to use the word loan because that's exactly what it is. But if the bank loans you money and says you have until this date to pay it back, if anybody loans you money and says you have until this date to pay it back, I get the sentiment that you want to pay it back as soon as possible, maybe, but you kind of hold out and wait to pay it back. And the same thing goes with these decisions. You want to take your time and make the best decision. So you want all the information, and you don't have all the information really until that day kind of comes. So I wanted to bring that in, Tony. You kind of segued into that pretty nicely. So we'll move on to Cedric Soares. And as I said at the open, the more I think about this, the less I hate it. Is there a better option on the cheap in the transfer market to bring in and put behind Hector Bellerin, or to try to challenge Hector Bellerin and get him to compete? And I think the answer is no. When Thomas Meunier was signed with Dortmund, that option was off the table and he could have come in on a free, but that option was off the table. So now I think him coming in on a free really, to me, is not the worst thing in the world. It's a depth signing. I think hopefully it's a depth signing at best. If he has to play week in and week out, okay, we're in trouble. But it's a depth signing. I don't hate it. I don't know what his wage is, but I can't imagine it's that much. I can't imagine it's that high. And if there's no transfer fee, then the question kind of is, why the hell not? Tony, you got a smirk on your face, Tony. I'm going to let you go first.
Carl Jenkinson 2.0.
Who said, is Soares better than Jenko? Was it you? Yeah. All right. So is Soares better than Jenko? We don't know.
I was gonna say we have. How many minutes has Soares played for us? I'm curious.
What's that?
How many minutes has Soares played for us? Yeah,
in fairness, when he came in on loan in the January window, I believe he had a shoulder injury, but he was expected to get back to fitness and at some point have an opportunity to play. But then in training, suffered.
He cracked his face like that.
Yeah, he cracked his face or something like that. So again, out injured. So I mean,
was that what that was? I thought he was auditioning for a part in the Phantom of the Opera. He had one of those white mask things on, didn't he?
Right. Stan, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, this is a good one for me.
Here we go.
This is a real no, but I mean, I think in this one,
Stan, for those that are watching live, I want to give them an opportunity to get their popcorn, crack a fresh beer if you need to, go use the restroom. You know, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to sit down and listen to what Stan's going to say, because I think we got something good coming. So
I was excited.
I'm going to drop some science on the Cedric Soares situation, right? Okay. He's played for Portugal. Apparently, he's had a good showing. But I've got to tell you now that I don't watch a lot of Southampton. So I've never had my eye on him as a player. But this is what I know, right? First of all, you mentioned, well, he came in for free. So, well, it wasn't free. We paid about £1 million in loan fees. We knew that first of all, we paid £1 million for a player that could not kick a ball. You're bringing in someone on loan, it's usually because you're short in that area. You've got nothing in-house that you're confident about. Maybe you're ravaged with an injury in that area. So you bring someone in to maybe fill in or help out. But we chose a person that could not kick a ball. And we paid Southampton £1 million for that pleasure. We also continued to pay his wages. He's been paid £65,000 a week. So if you add it all together, so far he's probably had about 4 million out of us. He's gone out on him so far. So there's an outlay already. Now, the weird thing is that apparently when he was at Southampton, I think last season they were battling relegation. You know, this is a team that was in dire trouble, fighting for their lives, and he didn't get a look in. So it's not a case that we've gone to Southampton and we've a struggling team, and we've taken that bright spark that they've got in that team, that one bright spark who obviously the team's going to go down, but he can't do it on his own. We've gone out for a guy who could not get into a team that was battling relegation, and we've brought him in on loan, injured, and in the last whatever it is months, while he's been running around in his Phantom of the Opera mask, we've now decided to give him a 4-year contract. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who's come to this conclusion? And more importantly, what did they base it on? Did they base it on that he's got a friendly smile when he comes around the training camp, or what? Did they base it on watching YouTube clips of him playing at Southampton? Was it that they went to the stats machine and the stats machine said that he's got a pass completion rate of X that they like the number of? Because, you'd think that before you hand out a 4-year deal, there's got to be based on something. It's got to be, it's for fuck's sake. I'm really at this stage now where the only phrase I can say is, for fuck's sake. I'm getting at. It doesn't take a fucking scientist, right, or Columbo to put the fucking dots together. You have to be fucking Sherlock Holmes. The more I think about this, right, the more it makes my fucking piss boil. And I'm not going to be sending this podcast on to me mum, right?
All right.
Doesn't like to hear her only child with a potty mouth. But for fuck's sake, what is it about this deal that I've missed? He came injured. We paid £1 million for an injured player to come in online and do what? Fill in and do what? He can't play. And then this is a guy that could not get into a team fighting relegation. His manager was like, well, I don't need your help, mate. You're good where you are. And we've given him 4 years. So if Mikel Arteta has fought tooth and nail at the board and said, we must make Cedric permanent, then I question Mikel Arteta. If Mikel Arteta didn't get a look in and it's gone above his head and row because they're friends with the Kia jackass that we can't say, yeah, if it's that, then that needs to be looked at. Do you know what I'm getting at? And you've got to say, well, how is this club being run? So whoever's made this decision is not in the clear. If it's Mikel, fucking hell, mate, you get a fucking C, a D for that one. That's not a good move, Mikel. I love you. I want you to do well, but that is a fucking wank move. And if it ain't him, then we've got fucking Raul Senieri making these shots. Boy, I'm fucking shitting it, mate.
Ryan, go. You look like you're ready. You look like you're ready to get to it, man.
I'm trying to stretch a little bit. I gotta,
So you gotta get
all
a
right.
off count back up.
Lift
right.
number up.
I also think this is probably the most interesting extension out of the four. And I was actually pretty excited to talk about this too, because I didn't think you guys were going to talk about it much, but Stan obviously had to show me up as usual. So I don't hate this signing. I understand like how much we fucked up and how much money we sold. When he said that, I was like, well, fuck, maybe I don't like it as much as I thought I did. But he plays right back and left back. He could do either or. Bellerin's coming off a major ACL injury. He has not been the same since. I think he's definitely going to challenge, if not overtake, Bellerin's job. And the sheer fact that we signed him for 4 years means that you'd have to assume Arteta had some kind of say in extending for 4 years. So with that being said, I think Arteta kind of told the back staff, hey, I think he can overtake Bellerin. Or on top of that, we could be trying to get rid of Bellerin and no one say anything. We might be like, hey, Torres is kind of losing his legs a little bit. I'm not saying I agree with all this, but the fact that we gave someone who hasn't played a single minute of football a 4-year extension for our club means either we're trying to get rid of somebody or we think he's something on the training pitch that no one's talking about, which I find that extremely hard to believe. But it could be both.
I want to throw this monkey wrench into the cogs here.
Yeah, throw it to me.
And the one thing that I'm going to bring up, and I mentioned it earlier, who's his agent?
I was thinking it's the same gang, right?
It's the same gang.
And that's it too. It's also, it's what's comfortable. It's what you know. So I think he checks off a lot of boxes in that respect. Is he can play right back, he can play left back. Hector Bellerin is not doing, what we want him to do. Tierney, I hate throwing the injury prone word around, but he gets hurt. So it's same agent. So it's like, oh shit. Yeah, same agent. Sign him. At that point, it's just a no-brainer. Like, oh, same agent? Cool. Sign him up. Get him a shirt. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I see what they're trying to do, and I'm trying to make sense of it. And I don't hate it because if it works out, yeah, we get laughed at for the fucking $4 million we're paying him. But I think especially with Arteta's tactics, we need a right back that could be very dynamic, that could run back and forth, that could join the attack, but also like when he needs to put a tackle in, he can put a tackle in. And when he was in Southampton, I fucking don't remember his name, but the reason why he wasn't seeing any minutes was because they had a younger right back that they were trying to get minutes to. He was in the Southampton Academy, way younger than Cedric Soares, and he was showing potential, so they kind of just pushed Cedric Soares aside. They loaned him out to Inter Milan as well. So I think there's just a lot of cogs moving around, a lot of pieces going around, and I think we could benefit from it. Or, same old Arsenal, we could just be like, oh yeah, he's not gonna play a minute of football, and we extended him 4 years, and he's gonna fuck us. But yeah, who knows?
It just seems so comfortable, though. It just seems also very comfortable that you would think that in a real world, you've been this guy in on loan, and you're thinking maybe, okay, he's injured now. I'm trying to give them the benefit of that, but he's going to get better. We can take a look. But then he gets injured again. You've not seen. You've got to say, look, I'm sorry, it's not worked out. You're going to have to go back now at the end of the season, and then you've got the season to look elsewhere. And when you know that you've got someone like Thomas Meunier, that could be available. And I'm not saying that Thomas Meunier would want to come to Arsenal, but at least show some intent and say, hey everyone, look, this is what we're trying to do. These are the moves that we're trying to pull off. Max Aarons is in a team that might be getting relegated.
Yeah.
He's 19 years old. Okay, I know that Meunier is free, and to me that kind of looks like it's where he's already at Arsenal. There's no point in leaving now. We've already put his number and his name on the back of the shirt. We don't want to have to pick it off and put someone else's name on there. It's free.
Exactly. It's easy. It's comfortable. That's what we wanted. That's just how our club's being ran. And again, on top of that, the whole way we run this club of how, we need these crafty veterans. We need these old veterans that could show us the way. We need Lichtensteiner. We need David Luiz. We need Cedric Soares. I wouldn't put Cedric Soares in that category with them, but he's older. And he's someone that's played left and right fullback, so like he can kind of be a little versatile towards us. I think he kind of is what we wanted Maitland-Niles to be, but Maitland-Niles is like, fuck that, I'm a midfielder. So again, it's just like, okay, you're really helping us out. And then I think the agent probably approached Arsenal and was just like, hey, I have this guy. He plays left back. He plays right back. Maitland-Niles, you don't like him. He doesn't want to play right back. Look, I'm helping you out here. He's kind of what Tanner was saying. He's baffling and bullshit. He's selling this guy, and he's saying all these great points of how, he plays left back. He plays right back. Hector Bellerin came back from an ACL. Nowhere near where he is. Maitland-Niles, he doesn't want to see right back at all. So it's just all like building, and then the management goes, you're right. But let alone the entire time the guy's injured, and he may just fucking blow. He may just not be good. But
let me ask everybody a question. I hope Tony comes back. Hector Bellerin is fit. Okay, he's not got any problems. He's fit, and you're looking to get a backup, someone to cover for him at right back. And your choices are Soares or Callum Chambers. Who would you have as cover as a backup to the right back if it's Hector or someone else?
Chambers.
Wait, is this person strictly playing right back, or is he just on the bench?
Well, no, I'm thinking of someone that, obviously Callum Chambers can play other positions. Also, Soares, as you say, can play two positions. I'm just saying that if you're looking at someone and you're keeping an eye on, if anything goes wrong with my right back, and let's say it's Hector, he's fit and everything, he's in there to cover, and you've got a choice of Soares, you can bring him in, give him a 4-year contract, or you cannot do that and continue maybe with Chambers, even if it's to the end of the season, and then look in the market. What would you do? Me personally, I'd prefer to keep it in-house with Chambers.
I agree, but I haven't seen I haven't seen Soares, and B, out of center back, right back, and defensive midfielder, I think Chambers' is worst position, and I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. I think his worst position is right back. So I prefer him as a center back, center midfielder. And on top of that, too, like, where's our weakest spot? Probably our center back. So people, the board are trying to save money and think okay, we don't want to buy Upamecano, we don't want to spend all this money. Well, we have Chambers. He's hurt. He could play. He could play center back. We have Saliba. We have all these pieces there. I think they're trying to penny pinch as much as they can. And this is their best. And this is their best way of doing it.
Yeah,
100%. And again, I can't discount the agent thing. I've just, where there's smoke, there's fire. I've heard too much in the last 3 days. I mean, this all really. I heard it when Raul was hired about the contacts and this and that. When Bislantat left the club and Raul was promoted to head of football, it sort of came out again. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this week, it all started back up again. I just keep hearing from too many sources that this is how Raul is running the club now. Basically going to this agent buddy of his, going through his agent list or his client list and saying, okay, well, we'll take this guy, sure. So
I have a feeling that the conversation and the chain of command goes something like this. Mikel Arteta looks at the team, thinks it's a big threadbare, it needs a right back to cover. He goes to see Raul and he says, look, I need us to cover at right back. Yeah, this is where we're a little bit weak. Raul's like, okay, you leave it with me. Raul gets on the phone, he speaks to Kia. He goes, listen, I need a player at right back. What can you do for me? And Kia goes, well, I've got Cedric Soares. And then Raul says, who's he? He goes, he's a Portuguese guy. He plays over at Southampton. He can also play at left back as well. And his contract's running out, so you could probably get him on a free, but you're going to have to pay him X. And Raul goes, yeah, okay, that seems to fit the bill. Send him up.
And I think it's too. I could see them literally smoking cigars, sitting at a table, getting their dick sucked, just having a regular conversation, just oh, how you doing? Oh yeah, work's tough. I need a right back. Bellerin is getting hurt. The kid's oh, I have this guy, and it's just it's almost just a flowing, friendly conversation, and it turns into he does check a lot of boxes. He could play multiple positions. He's coming in on a free. He's familiar with the Premier League. He's Portuguese. They won the Euros. It's just and it's I think it's just dumb, almost mental checks in your head where you're just you want this to work because he is your friend. He's someone that you trust and do business with. So it's just it's almost in Raul's eyes, he just wants it to work because he wants to keep the friendship going. He wants to almost what I was saying with Ceballos. He just wants to keep that olive branch extended and work with have like a very good working relationship going further.
What's a very strange concept to me in all of this is, so agents are not exactly the best friends of, well, I'll use the word general manager. You know, again, being American, I'm going to use American examples. But you take a guy like an agent, for those of you that follow baseball, look up Scott Boras. Google who Scott Boras is. Scott Boras may as well be the head of the players union for Major League Baseball. And I can tell you that there is not one GM at any baseball team, at any Major League Baseball team, and Major League Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. The New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers pretty much print their own fucking money to spend on free agents. And they hate Scott Boras. Why? Because Scott Boras is constantly telling his players, hold out for more money. You can get more money. You can get $35 million here. Wait, don't sign that contract, because what if you could get $35.1 million out there? That's Scott Boras. That's an agent. And here we are as a team cozying up with these guys, getting in bed with these guys. I get the idea that you want to have the working relationship. And you have to have the working relationship. If you hate them and they know you hate them and you're a dick to them, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to get any business done. So I get it on the one hand, but this is not the way to run a football club, being buddy with these guys saying, okay, let's look at your client list. Who can I take out of your client list to keep you happy? Fuck the agent. Are you kidding me? These guys are making more money than their clients. And you're worried about whether or not they're happy? They can buy their fucking happiness.
It's almost beginning to feel like that Kia guy, it's almost beginning to feel like he's actually employed by Arsenal now.
That's exactly.
Like he's a member of staff.
My point with all of this is that this dude is all of a sudden almost employed by the football club. He's moonlighting with both.
That's why we're paying agent fees.
I don't understand it. And coming from an ownership group, like I said, that owns an American sports teams in 3 of the 4 major leagues, that's just not how shit's done here. And we have American owners. I
reckon he's actually got an office at Arsenal. Sometimes people walk by and go, and I reckon they're trying to keep it quiet so his name's not on the door. And people go by, and I bet it's really plush, and they go, whose office is that? And people go, no one. You've not seen that. That's not really there.
Pay no attention.
Never ever go in there.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Anyway, we're over an hour here, so let's keep moving on. Pablo Marí. This will be the last one as far as the contract extensions that we're done. Again, don't hate it. Tony, what was the transfer fee? I heard $9 million. Was it transfer fee $9 million?
12 or 13.
Okay, so 12.
Yeah, I heard 12.5.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. A lot of what I heard about Marí when he came in, seemed to be good things. Again, can we bring in someone else? Is Upamecano in the pipeline? Is Lewis Dunk in the pipeline? Is there another center back that the club are looking at and saying that's the target to be the anchor of our back line? David Luiz is going to be a cup competition guy. If by some miracle this club makes qualifies for European football next season, maybe David Luiz gets the shout in the group stage matches, things like that. So I don't hate Marí if it's another signing for depth. But you have to think, and Tony, I think you said this here a little bit ago, or no, it was Ryan, I think, that said it about selling players on. So with Soares, could we be looking to sell Kolasinac, for example? Because if he can play both, okay. We still have Maitland-Niles, who in a pinch, hey, man, you want to get a shirt for the day, you're going to have to play right back for me. And Soares, God forbid, injuries, and then Soares could provide cover at left back. So depth isn't a bad thing. Are we looking to sell players on? So the Pablo Marí deal, $12.5 million, if that's what the transfer fee is, we'll split the difference, 12, 13. Don't hate it. 4 years. Yeah, okay. 4 years is standard contract length. So I don't hate the deal. Again, I'll reserve judgment on it till the window closes and the next season begins to see the entire picture to be able to say whether or not I hate the Pablo Mari signing. So, Stan, go ahead.
With Pablo Mari, I made a prediction. As soon as I knew that he was linked and this guy was coming in online, and I don't know nothing about him. I never watched that game in the Liverpool game where they played his team out in Brazil, so I don't know nothing about him. But I predicted, I went, oh, okay, this guy will be made permanent, and I guarantee you now that they will use that as their convenient way not to go back in for Upamecano. Because if you remember at the end of the last window, they dangled that Upamecano carrot, didn't they? They said, we haven't finished our business yet. We've still got more to do. And now, after we've told you about Nicolas Pepe, we're going back for Upamecano. But they came back with Luiz and told us that they weren't able to get it all done in time. And I thought to myself, that's a bit suspect because the guy's got a buyout clause. So there's no, you don't have to get things done by the end of the window or what have you. You can continue with talks. And now that they brought in Mari, where if we went back in the market, let's say we went in for Upamecano or Kanate or Endika or a host of any others, where are they going to fit in? Because we've given David Luiz an extra 1-year contract. We've given Pablo Mari a 4-year contract. We've got Holding. We've got Chambers. We've got Saliba coming in, who's going to want to get minutes. It's getting really congested there. So my prediction is halfway. He's now been made permanent. And it breaks my heart because I'm a big Upamecano fan. He is a player outside of our league that I do know about. I didn't know about Saliba, but I know about him. I've watched him, and I'm impressed with him. And I think that they're going to use that as the convenient. Well, yeah, it's working out. We've got this guy. And again, how was this decision made? The only with this one, sort of safe thing I can think of as well. Mikel Arteta has had eyes on him before at Man City. So he's had eyes in him. You would like to think that if you saw him at Man City and he was toilet and Raul was forcing him in, that Mikel would be going, but I've worked with the guy, he's absolute rubbish. And I'm starting to think to myself, when it comes to transfers, let's say they need 4 players in, is it a choice that Mikel gets to choose one, Raul chooses one, Edu chooses one, and then the last one, they put all their names in a hat and whoever gets that gets the last one. Because it almost feels like the Soares one really feels like of a Raul maneuver because
it was
because of his manager, because of who his agent is, right? And maybe that's a conspiracy theory, but the Mari one has a more of a Mikel Arteta feel because he's worked with him. And if you've worked with someone and you had your doubts, surely you'd be going to home at night to your missus and going, what the fuck is going on at work? They're bringing this geezer in. I worked with him before, and he's a klutz. And they still want to bring him in against my recommendations. So I'm not going to pass judgment. I've not seen enough of him play. The good thing I know that he's a left footer, which is always handy to have a left-footed centre back. I'm willing to give him a chance. But if it does mean at the expense of an Upamecano, that will be duly noted. And I will use that again when the time is right. When the border on their knees, I'll pull that one out of the bag and just make sure I kick them when they're down.
Tony, what do you think on Pablo Mari?
I just don't like signing a 29-year-old to a 4-year deal. 2 or 3 would have been better for me. But like Stan said, I think it kind of prevents us from getting somebody like Upamecano, Ta, Endika, any of those guys.
Well, and Ryan, before I bring you in here real quick, if you'll allow me, I think there are going to be some sales. I really think at this point the club has to realize that, okay, Shkodran Mustafi, for example, we paid £35 million for him. You're not going to sell him for that, so you're going to take what you get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think at this point now, I think they've realized that we have to sell guys for what we're getting offered. We're not going to recoup £35 million for Shkodran Mustafi. We're not going to get £20 million for Socrates. If we get 25 combined for both of them, sign me up. I'll take $25 million for both. So, Ryan, go ahead.
All right. Well, not that to me it makes a little difference. Pablo Mari is actually 26, not 29. But but I I thought, to be honest, it was going to be one or the other between him and David Luiz. I didn't think we were going to extend both. But then, we'll kind of back to my argument for David Luiz, like the whole leadership and Liechtensteiner bullshit. Like, okay, fine. He's a left-footed center back, which McAllister really wants. He worked with him in Man City in his first year. I don't hate it. I think he's a good defender, and the little bit I've seen in the Premier League, I think he's pretty well. He's a little slow, which is probably going to be the Achilles heel because the Premier League's a lot faster. But I definitely, again, I feel like we've been saying this the whole show, and I feel like we're going to be saying this. He's a depth guy. He's good for the depth. I think he's going to be a great depth guy. I mean, we have a lot of depth guys. We just don't have any starting 11 guys. That's I think it's our problem right now.
Yeah.
But I think he could be a great depth guy. I could see him like really flourishing in like the Europa League, but or like the FA Cup, and so I'm excited. I think we're going to get a good couple of years out of him. But again, I think it comes down to selling guys. We're very congested in that area. It's not a good area, but we're congested there, and it's just about selling. And I hope you're right. We're going to sell players, but I don't know. With this whole COVID thing, I don't know. We're hitting uncharted territory, so I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, ideally, we got to sell 85, 90% of the team. So let's do it.
How long is Pablo Mari out for now? Was it the rest of the season, or is he going to come back?
4 months, I think.
What did you say?
4 months, I think.
Oh, bloody hell.
I think it was 4 to 6 months. I think it was same as Leno.
Well, no, Leno. All of a sudden, they said 4 to 6 weeks on him, but they
weeks. Yeah, weeks. Yeah. Fucked up.
That's Okay, let's get on that real quick. Just since Ryan brought it up, how happy were you to see that Leno's injury potentially is not as serious as what it was originally thought to be? I swore when I saw it happen on Saturday, the minute I saw it, I'm like, he's done. He just blew out his knee. He's done. He's done till next spring. But now it's 6 to 8 weeks maybe, because they said he's not coming back. He's done for this season.
Yeah, 6 weeks is what they're saying.
Yeah, so Leno is 4 to 6 weeks. Pablo Mari is 2 to 3 months. That's
2 to 3. That 2 to 3 months. Okay, so they're both done for the season.
Yeah,
but and you have to think too with the Pablo Mari signing. You also have to think the decision to make it permanent was made after the injury, and I think this one does have Arteta's handwriting on it a little bit because of the Manchester City connection with him. So, Leno injury, yeah, here we go. Well. Yeah, so Ray says Leno injury 4 to 6 weeks is best case scenario, but regardless of that, he's done for the year. He's not going to come back, which is fine. So once the season ends, he can focus strictly on rehab.
Just touching on that Leno's incident from the last game. I mean, when he screamed, I could hear him outside my window here in Vancouver. I didn't even have my TV turned up, right? And the most annoying thing was was that. When that happened, not one Arsenal player went to comfort him or to back him up. One or the other. You know how long it took for him to get removed from the field of play? It was a while. He was down for ages because obviously for COVID, they came in with the doctors. They checked him over. Then they decided on the stretcher. Then you had to wait for the stretcher. And the guy was just lying there on his own, mate, and it took him to sit up on the stretcher and point out, you little fucking few. To the rest of his teammates, and to me,
we did nothing.
Again, just the fact that there was nobody around a fallen soldier, one of your brothers is just fallen down, nobody was picking him up and carrying him back over enemy lines, back to the field hospital, back to the trench. It's disgusting.
So, Stan, brilliant segue into that.
Oh, come on.
Time for Ryan to get his fuck count up.
Well, no, let's talk about it, right? Because we're talking about passion and sticking up for your pals and all of that. And you brought up now young Matteo Guendouzi. For me, all of that was too little, too late. What should have happened was, right, when it's an innocuous challenge, right? Yes, It's horrible when both his feet are off the ground. It's resulted in an injury. But if it was your striker moving in on their goal, you'd want your striker to go for the ball. You don't want him to injure the goalkeeper, right? But you wouldn't want him to pull out of it. You'd want him to maybe try and get the ball, because sometimes you can cause things to happen for yourself. But Guendouzi, I mean, what should have happened is your goalkeeper goes off. There should have been rotation fouling on Malpay. Every time he got near the ball, just nudge him, make him know that you're there. And by doing that, if he's now spending the rest of his game constantly looking over his shoulder in case a red shirt is going to be coming on top of him, maybe he doesn't get the winner. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't get that pass because he's not in the right place. Maybe he totally balls it up because he's been thrown. So we totally handed that to them. And with the Guendouzi thing, he tapped him in the stomach. Yes, the guy made a meal of it. He went down like he'd been, hit with a baseball bat. But the immature thing about that is that Guendouzi should never put himself in that position in the first place.
If you do it in the context of the game, you might get carded for it. And I mean put in a challenge. And I don't mean go in after his legs. I don't mean, go in sliding down and try to do
exactly.
You know what? Fucking clothesline him. I'm serious.
I mean, what do you do to Zaha? Come on.
When he's going for the ball, give him a fucking forearm shiver and knock him off the ball. Take the card, and now it's done. Again, I do this all the fucking time. I can't believe people don't say anything to me about this, but I do it all the time. It's like in fucking baseball, man. You hit my guy, okay. Guess what? I'm hitting your guy, and now we're done. It's over. It's just police yourself. But now and he got lucky because he put his hand. He put his hand on his throat. There's a still photo of Guendouzi's hand around Mopé's neck.
Oh,
and the fact that he didn't get a ban for it is utterly shocking. So on the one hand, I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans like, "Oh, the FA hates us," and they said, "Well, the FA could have come down on him pretty hard for that. He didn't, so he avoided that." But you do it after the game. What fucking difference does that make? He just scored the game-winning goal in the 95th minute, like you said, Stan. If you give him the fucking forearm shiver and knock him off the ball, maybe he's looking over his shoulder when that pass comes to him and he doesn't score the game winner. You take the card, okay, take the fucking card, man. And Arteta can sub you off now with he's got 5 subs. Well, he's got 4 subs, but he could sub you off so that you don't get a second card. Perfect. But fuck, man, have 2 or 3 guys that you're going to take off anyway and be like, look, knock him on his ass. I don't care how you do it, knock him on his ass. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. Well, the first thing I'll say is he didn't get banned by FA couldn't ban him because VAR looked into it after the game, and VAR decided not to do anything. So therefore, in that fact, since VAR looked at it, FA can't do anything. But anyways, so there's a lot to unpack in this whole situation. So I know it's within the confines of the game what Maupay did to Leno, but it needs to be outlawed. He was not getting that ball. He was looking to maybe knock the ball out of Leno's hands and there was nothing that was going to happen. Only thing that was going to happen was someone getting injured. It's the same thing as almost hitting a defensive receiver in the NFL, in the American Football League. You can't. There's just things that they just I think they need to get rid of. But whatever. He's an asshole. It's fucked up, but it happened. Whatever. I think after the whole situation, Leno pointed out, Maupay called, said whatever. The team didn't do anything. The team was like, oh, okay, cool. And I think I'm trying to get my head in Guendouzi's shoes or in his pants, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to see it from his point of view. These players don't play for each other. So if I'm Matteo Guendouzi, I'm thinking fuck this guy. I want to take him out. But then you think I'm just one guy. My team's not going to back me up. I want to take this guy out. I want to show Arsenal. I want to play for the badge. I want to do these things. But if I don't have my boys backing me up, why am I going to stick my neck out? Why am I going to potentially get sent off? Why am I going to put my neck? Leno gets hurt, and I'm gonna try to help him out. But if no one's backing me up, I'm just going to get sent off. You make the problem even worse. And just because of everything that's been going on with his immaturity and how we got into a dust-up with Maitland-Niles earlier in Dubai, and him and Arteta haven't been getting along, Guendouzi's thinking oh no, this is a recipe for disaster. I go in on this guy, no one's gonna back me up. I'm going to get sent off. Arteta's going to bench me till eternity. I'm going to get sold. I'm out of here. There's so many like cons for Guendouzi to do anything on the pitch. So I completely understand what's up.
You guys keep going. I got to duck out of here. I think I got a sick dog here real quick. So
right.
keep going. I'll be right back.
Okay. So if I'm Guendouzi, there's no chance I'm doing anything on the field. And then after the whole thing, like you're playing the game, whatever, he ends up scoring the game winner. Apparently, Guendouzi's been talking shit to him all game. They've been going back and forth, fine, whatever. He scores the game winner. Then at that point, I think Guendouzi just, sees red. He's just like, fuck this. I don't even care. Game's over. And then, you have that split second of, seeing red, and you think like, oh, the ref can't do anything. Game's over. Grabs him by the throat, does X, Y, and Z, whatever. And even then, like, just disgusting, not from Guendouzi. If you see the whole thing go down, on my TV, they cut it away really quick, but I saw like the extended clip. Guendouzi grabbed my throat, Mupai fell. You see Aubameyang just standing there. Our captain is just standing there going like, all right, like, cool, these little girls are fighting. Awesome. Yeah. And I mean the rest of the team, Mustafi kind of stands up. Yeah, which is like, I'm kind of like, I don't want to say impressed is a big word for Mustafi, but he's someone that's actually wants to fight with Guendouzi and like just fight for the team. And you can't fault him for that. He has a Mustafi in him. We get it. It happens. But like, I'd rather have someone who has that Mustafi in him, but he's willing to fight for this team. Whereas our captain is just staying there walking around like, all right, game's over. Like, I just want to get to the dressing room and go into my fucking fancy car. And then like Kolasinac kind of did a little talking to the other team too, but that's it. We didn't do anything. It's just like, it's just pathetic. The whole, like, people say, oh, disgusting of Guendouzi. I think the disgusting part is our fucking team, the way the team handled the situation. Like, yeah, it was Guendouzi saw red. That happens. It's a professional competition. They're getting paid millions of dollars. It's the biggest league in the world. You're gonna be mad when this asshole. You want to foul him all game. You can't because you're not getting backed up by your boys. Your own manager's probably not going to back you up. And then, oh, what do you know? It's almost like Guendouzi's like, I told you so. Because then, what do you know? Mubai scores the winner, or whatever the fuck his name is. He scores the winner. Then it's like, well, fuck you. I'm gonna undertake you and chokeslam you. That's it. Done. So I don't know what you want. Like, it's hard to like. I don't know. I see like all this hate Guendouzi's getting. But then you see all of our players
on the other side of the Guendouzi coin. I just feel that he gets a lot of free passes and he gets a lot of love from the fan base for the one fact that he has a lot of energy and covers a lot of ground within a game. And I did a poll, and I said, Matteo Guendouzi, and the two choices you had was a headless chicken or the future of Arsenal. And it was really close, but people were coming into the comments and saying, I think he's actually both.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether they're saying that he's like a headless chicken now, but he could be with maybe filing down the edges. Maybe they're saying that he could be the future. But for me personally, I'm not sure what his position actually is. Sometimes to me, it feels like the manager said to him, you're playing the Maradona role today, because he just goes out and does whatever he wants. He covers a lot of ground, but then when he does have the ball, for me, he always feels like he's holding on for it for too long. And rather than looking for a quick pass, his answer is, I've got the ball, now I'm going to try and dribble away with it like Ronaldinho. And invariably for me, he'll turn the ball over, and now we're on the back foot. And now he's covering more ground because he's trying to make up for his mistake. And he's showing a lot of energy. Rather than turning the ball over and not doing anything, he does try to react. I think the fans do enjoy seeing that. I feel that in the first season that he came over, when he signed for us, he was overused. Well overused. There were times you may have maybe someone on the bench like a Mkhitaryan, who's considered a more experienced player, and we're chasing the game and things aren't going right, and on the pitch, and the thing will come up for the substitution, and he'll take off, say for example, a Mkhitaryan or someone experienced, and Guendouzi is still on the pitch, and I used to think to myself, he needs to be out on loan. For me, that first season, he should have gone out on loan. I would have loved to have seen him come to England, go on loan to a championship side. That will test his mettle. That would have shown what he is. But he was being used a lot in the Premier League. I bet he couldn't believe it. He's at Arsenal, playing at big Arsenal. And every time he would make mistakes, whether it was rugby tackles, he never, ever got punished by the manager in, I'm taking you off now. And there are times that when you're young and you make these mistakes, like the manager should take you off and not even tell you why. Just take you off, not even talk to you, and let you sit out the game and let you sit on the bench and think to yourself, I wonder why I've been taken off here. And then maybe the next starting lineup, you're not on the lineup. I wonder why he hasn't put me in. And you work it out and you have a chat with the manager. But I kind of felt that Guendouzi was given so many free passes by Unai Emery. And now, if I'm taking my Arsenal hat off, obviously I'm glad that he didn't get kept out because of the last game, because we ain't got a lot to choose from. But I kind of feel again that because the FA haven't punished him, again, he's thinking, okay, so you can do that, can you? Okay, this is you can do that over here. Do you know what I'm getting at? He doesn't seem to be getting any lessons.
And yeah, I could not agree more. And that's I think that was kind of the beginning of Emery's downfall, in my opinion. I think he let Guendouzi do whatever he wanted, didn't punish him, and if you're again going into Guendouzi's pants, I mean shoes. If I'm playing on the field and I'm not getting punished for anything that I'm doing, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's what I know. It's what it's what I've been doing, and
it becomes part of your natural game, right?
Exactly.
You wake up one morning. If you're playing like that, you're gonna wake up one morning, look in the mirror, and you're fucking Joey Barton all of a sudden. You're like, oh my god, I'm Joey Barton.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like the fans at first all loved him, and he didn't really change anything, and now a lot of the fans don't like him. You can't necessarily blame that on him. If the coach doesn't punish him, if he doesn't learn lessons, if he's not getting reprimanded for some of the things he's doing, like how could you slate the player for that? I mean, yeah, I guess to an extent, like there's a right and wrong way to go about things, but if he's not learning it, that's just the crux that I don't understand. But and then on the top of what people are saying about Headless Chicken, I thought positionally, if you rewatch the game, I thought positionally he was one of the better players, and I thought he was fantastic in what he did. The way I see him, like as a player, I see him as like kind of like a mix between Maitland-Niles and Xhaka. I don't think he's got the muscle like Xhaka does, but he tries to make long passes, make moves, but then he's like Maitland-Niles as to where he tries to dribble out of trouble and dribble out of pressure. And to me, you kind of can't do both. You can't dribble out of pressure, yet still want to look for that long-range pass, still want to go side to side, when meanwhile he's trying to dribble through people and go up and down. It's just, again, it goes back to what you just said. He's doing way too much on the field. I mean, hey, if it was up to me, I would have 11 Guendouzis, but you can't. So I think he's the future captain of his club, and I can't wait. He needs an arm. He needs an arm around his shoulder, and it's not going to be from Aubameyang. It's not going to be from Lacazette. It's not going to be from anybody that I see in this club right now. Maybe a David Luiz, but I don't want that. And I think maybe Arteta, but Arteta's a coach. He's not really a player. I think he's better off instead of getting an arm around him as a father. I think he needs an arm around him as a big brother, which is a player. But we don't really have that, so I'm nervous as to his development. But fuck yeah, I'm going to eat the popcorn, get my Guendouzi jersey, and just fucking sit there with no pants on watching him play every game because I fucking love it. And I'm excited. Anyways, yeah. Show's yours, guys. Go for it.
Thanks for covering me, fellas. I appreciate that. She, one of the dogs over here, she just started licking the carpet and trying to pull strings of the carpet out because she stomach's not feeling well apparently. So I had to run her outside and see if she was going to throw up. But thanks for covering for me. So, Guendouzi. So, bottom line, Ryan, you don't think you think Arteta does or does not want to sell him? Not asking if you would, because I know you would buy him.
I'd buy him for. I don't know. See, I don't know because it's like I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's kind of what I was just saying is he needs an older brother. But if there's no older brothers, I don't know if his development is going to be good for this club. I don't know if he's going to become like a Joey Barton. Like, I don't know. So Yeah.
The only player in this club that I think could do what you're suggesting, nobody likes, and you hate him. Granit Xhaka. He's the guy. If you want Guendouzi to have a mentor, it's Granit Xhaka. At least from a leadership perspective, not necessarily playing, but from a leadership perspective, that's the guy in this team.
I would say yes to you before all the fans decide to curse him out and talk shit about his family and really turn his stomach on our. I mean, he may still like the club, but it's the relationship between him and the fans is never going to be the same. And I think in the back of his head, I think he knows that, and therefore I don't think he'll ever really step into any kind of leadership role and like do all that. But I'm not going to disagree with that. I really don't. And I know Tony might have to slap me in the back of the head for saying this, but Xhaka is supposed to be healthy for our game tomorrow. I kind of want. I want to see him play against City. I want to see him play. I want him to prove me wrong because I've been reading all these stats about how we're 9-0 when he's on the field, and we're like 0-3 or 3-3 or not good when he's not on the field. I know it's 1 of 11. I get that. I want to give him all right, so put it this way. If you're telling me that every time Xhaka's on the field, we win, but I'm going to scream at him, curse at him, and talk shit about him and talk about how shitty of a player is, but we win the game. We get 3 points. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk shit. I'm going to throw shit at my TV. I'm going to burn the number 34 outside on my grill. I'm going to do it. But if we're getting 3 points, I don't care. Again, cut the nose to save the face. I'll yell. I'll slate the one player if my team's winning. I don't give a shit. I know, Tony. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm betraying you here, but it's just he's horrible. He's the worst. I want him gone. But if you're telling me, I know it's 9 games, but if we're 9-0 with him on, you're telling me he's gonna play and we're gonna not lose a game. If we're getting 3 points automatically, then yeah, sign me up.
Here's the thing on this with. I don't ever want to see this guy play. Well, who's better? Who plays that's better? And I'm serious because I hear this from I hear it from a lot of fans on Twitter. I don't ever want to see this guy play for the Arsenal ever again. Okay, well that's fine, but who plays right now that's better? Because this is a now business. This is an immediate satisfaction business. And right now, the only thing that matters to this football club is 90 minutes tomorrow. That's all that matters.
90 minutes, 3 points.
Southampton. And if Granit Xhaka means you're going to get 3 points, then you play Granit Xhaka. I'm not saying he's the best.
No offense, Tony, and this isn't just at you. This isn't anybody else. But if you don't agree with that, you just have your own narrative, and and I had that for a long time. I always slated Xhaka. Every time I watch Xhaka, I'm like, oh, here we go again. I said this on multiple podcasts. I've gone to my local Arsenal bar, and I'm screaming at Xhaka for 90 minutes. And everyone's like, okay, dude, there's 10 other people on the field. But I don't know what it was. I would just focus in on him, and he would just fuck up and he'd do dumb shit, and I would see it. I would just see it over like the Ozil pass. It's probably a really bad example, but over every other thing. So, but I don't even know where I'm going with this now. But it's 3 points. I don't care how bad he is. And Tony,
Tone,
for it.
Who does everybody want for center back?
Wait, say what?
So who do all our fans want as center back?
As in the transfer market or like on this
market? Everybody wants Upamecano.
Yeah.
And when he plays, Leipzig gets a lot less points.
Okay, I agree with that, but I'm not a fan of RB Leipzig. I'm a fan of Arsenal, and if you're telling me if Xhaka plays, we're getting 3 points, I'm taking it.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
I'm not.
But I see what you're saying.
My face, and I get the point. But with Granit Xhaka, the thing. Okay, I am going to get absolutely blasted for the terminology that I'm about to use, and I apologize. I mean, absolutely no offense by what I say, and seriously, like I'm not saying it to be funny. I heard this somewhere, and it's an awful, awful, awful thing, but I'm going to say it because I think you'll get the point.
I'm so excited. What is it?
I hear everybody talk about how certain players they just don't want to see play. But the fact of the matter is that right now we are stuck with a bunch of players who are basically the smartest kids with Down syndrome.
Oh, yeah, no.
And again, I
mean
absolutely no offense, and I am not saying that in a derogatory manner at all. And I will apologize now for any backlash that I get from this. But that's what we have right now. We have a bunch of guys who just flat out aren't good enough. So you've got to look at what's the best of what we have, and Granit Xhaka right now is one of the best of what we have, and that's just not very good. But it's a fact. It is.
I wouldn't say best, but
I didn't say best. I said
one of the best. One of the best. That's what I meant. Like, listen, in a perfect porno dream world, I don't know if you guys watch South Park, where Stan's dad is sitting at the computer. There's fucking jizz all over him. Like, that's a great gift. And like, if that's me, I would love to see like a Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles, maybe even like a hardworking Willock. I know I don't know why I still give him a chance, but maybe I do. But Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles, I think they both. If Guendouzi can kind of bulk up a little bit and kind of be more of a Xhaka than a Maitland-Niles and Guendouzi could be something. And then I know we're not getting Partey. Everyone says it. I don't think we're getting him either. Yeah, you throw Partey in the mix, dude. Come on, it's like an orgy in Las Vegas. Like it. But again, it's just future stuff and like planning ahead. But yeah, I don't know.
There's what you can lay down.
Just to say, on the Granit Xhaka thing, I just think that when Hertha Berlin rang up and said we got 40 million for Granit Xhaka, I would have just put them on hold on that phone, got my other phone, rang up Atletico Madrid and say, look, I know Thomas Partey's got a buy clause of about 50, 55. If we come to you with 40, can we sit down and thrash out the other 15? I would have just done that. I would have done that. But to circle back to your original question about I think Mikel Arteta will sell Matteo Guendouzi, I would answer it like this. Even if Mikel Arteta wanted to sell Matteo Guendouzi, I think that would be overridden by the people up above. I think that they believe that, if he's deemed as one of their buyers, they don't want to see him go so quickly to make it look like a failure. I believe that they think that he could be something from the future. And if Mikel's not happy with him, I don't think he's going to go. He'd have to do something really, 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 really drastic for him to go. And if Granit Xhaka can tell us all to get fucked and still be at the club, well, there's quite a wide barometer of things that Matteo Guendouzi could actually get up to and still be here.
I think the club looks at a lot of intangibles. I think they focus way too much on intangibles. Again, I keep harping on this, like the Liechtensteiner, David Luiz, all the intangibles. They're a leader. They can role model, like Granit Xhaka. They think all these things, and I think it's like, wait a minute, wait. Great, awesome. They have these like things that could work, but if they're not good footballers, why are we even like having this discussion right now? Like, I get it.
I love the idea of having 11 guys out on the pitch who are natural born leaders, but if they can't kick the fucking ball, what's the fucking point?
Yeah. Like,
you need maybe 2 or 3 guys. I would love to see 2 or 3 guys that are natural born leaders. Guendouzi, I think, can be a captain for this club in time. I think it's more likely Kieran Tierney, but it doesn't hurt to have them both.
That'd be fucking awesome.
How many of our players do you think are going to bed tonight in the UK, right? And are going to bed and before they get in the bed, they're like, I fucking can't wait till tomorrow so I can put things right. And how many of our players do you think are going to bed and thinking to themselves, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again. I've got to go through all this again tomorrow. Fucking hell, I'm really done with this. Do you see what I mean? It's a different mentality.
Yeah.
Different mentality. And I would wager that there's quite a few that are in the second thing that I did there, head in their hands. Oh God, I've got to try and work myself up tomorrow to go to work. That kind of a feeling. And I think that a lot of the players are like that. So they're beaten before they've turned up.
Yeah. And it's confidence is a fickle thing, man. And I don't think we have any. And so, yeah.
Why should we? When we have 11 players on the field that aren't playing for each other, why should we have confidence?
I was saying this back in the fall when Emery was still the manager. that this is a collection of individuals wearing the same clothes. It's not a team. These guys aren't going to battle for one another. And you do have, unfortunately, and I think it's just kind of I think it's a little bit of nature to have a certain group of people that you gravitate towards, that you just in your workplace, it's a clique. Aubameyang and Lacazette, they've been buddy since the moment Aubameyang got here. There's probably a few more guys that have come into that little circle. And
you remember there was that footage 2 seasons ago where, you know, there's the secret footage when I was in the back room of a club. There was Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, Mustafi, Socrates.
Yeah.
And they were doing the old thing. So, you know, they obviously they go out and buddy up, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me because, like, growing up, I've played a lot of football growing up. I play from leagues to like intramural to just like pick up with friends, and like I've played against friends, and if one of my friends in the other team takes out one of my teammates, I'm getting in my friend's face, and it's crazy. Maybe I'm just wired differently, but like when I'm on a team, it's my team. I mean,
you're my brothers.
Yeah, and like even like as someone who's just playing pickup, and I have friends in the team, I have people that I go out and drink with. I have people that I go out and, you know, talk and have like I don't want to say intimate stories. It sounds a little weird, but just, you know, like have like very.
You're a weird guy.
I mean, yeah, that's what my mom tells me. But anyways, yeah, you know, so it's just like, I don't know. I guess like I'm missing that connection in my brain. How like I don't know how these players don't do that. Like even just a little bit.
It's
like just
job.
the whole rental thing.
Brian, it's a job. It's a job. That's what it is. It's their job.
I just wanted to say that, you know, at the end of the Unai Emery reign, the team was playing terribly. A lot of people were saying that they weren't playing for the manager. You know, it looks like they didn't know what they, you know, everybody was, all the players were very introverted in what they were doing on the pitch. And Mikel's kind of come in now to bridge that. And, you know, we all love what he's been saying in his interviews. He says all the right things, the way he talks about players. But one of my biggest concerns is that with the lockdown period, it's 3 months that, okay, they may not have been on the training pitch, but you can imagine that there's probably been a lot of one-to-one Zoom calls, a lot more. Maybe in those 3 months, he's probably had more personal chats on an individual basis rather than in a team scenario than he may have had the season still been going on. Do you know what I mean? Because you know, if the season was going on, you're all together as a group, you're talking about tactics as a group, but he's had to have maybe small groups, similar to what we're doing now. So I'm quite startled by the fact that after this 3 months of this manager coming to get to know these players, that I'm seeing the way that the mentality is. You know, that it doesn't look. There's no harmony at all. It does look disjointed. And the example, you know, about the Leno not getting any comfort or backup, it makes me think, Jesus, if he hasn't been able to galvanise the team in 3 months, and this is 3 months where it's been more intensified because of having to talk to people one-on-one, I'm really worried. And I think maybe Mikel Arteta has probably looked at that and thought to himself, fuck, is this really how they've come back after all the things we spoke about over the last 3 months? All the things that we said that we were going to do together, you know, all of the things that they said that they wanted to do for me. And this is the return that I'm getting. I think he's learning really quickly about who he can rely on and who he can't, which is again, but then you have the contradiction of that and you say to yourself, well, and if that is the case, why has he agreed to give David Luiz another year? Not see that to the end of the season, whatever, another freaking year. So it's baffling to me. It's baffling. And my biggest worry is that we haven't got a Glenn Roeder sort of Steve McLaren scenario. We've got a manager who's a great coach, but when it comes to actually being the manager and the figurehead, that's not really what their personality is about. And I'm worried that could happen because I really want this guy to succeed. But I want to touch on it a little bit. We're talking about, I've sort of brought up Mikel Arteta a little bit. But I'm worried about some of his in-game management. I'm worried about how he leaves his substitutions so late, the 85th minute or so, and then what the substitutions that he made. You know, and I understand that, as I said on Twitter, we all knew that he was going to make mistakes. He has to make mistakes. This is his first rodeo, for fuck's sake, you know? But I'm a little bit worried that before we stopped for COVID and we were doing these podcasts, and I said it with Ray and some of the chaps, I said a few times, I think Tony will remember, I'm like, hey, that last game, I'm surprised there that we were struggling to get ahead and he's finished the game with change in his pocket, i.e. subs on the bench. I don't get that. And I really hope that come next season, you know, when he's at the preseason, he'll look back over how he's done and pick up on that fact and say that needs to be an area of improvement. So I was really startled with the last two games to see how the substitutions, there's been no improvement there at all. And if anything, it looks like even worse. Even worse. Now, as I'm saying, I know that I've got to say, I'm not saying Arteta out. I'm not saying Arteta out. And as I've said on Twitter as well, the man has only been in for 5 months, 3 of which was spent in lockdown. Can't judge him. But, wow, I really hope that he can iron out some of these little bumps I'm seeing because it's worrisome for me.
I think he will. I really think Arteta will figure it out. And it's going to be a learning process for him because, as you said, this is his first rodeo. This is his first go-round. So, and it also doesn't help that the 3-month break and everything else, you know. And I think had the season just continued on, I think by the end of this season, we would have seen a bit of a change in his coaching style, in his tactics in game, the way he makes his subs, the time that he makes his subs, who he brings on. I think these are all things that he's going to learn in time. So really, because this is his first time, you know, riding in the captain's seat, I think I'm giving him at least the end of next season.
And do you not think, are you saying that I'm over worrying then about, you know, in the 3-month period that my worry that he hasn't been able to galvanise the team enough? And just to add on to that, some of our younger talent, Willock, Nelson, I actually said before football started, maybe these players will benefit more that there's no crowd. I mean, they've been playing at under 23s. You don't get a lot of crowd. They're not going to have to worry about if I make a bad pass, you're going to hear the you know, the Arsenal getting on my back. And if anything, some of them look even more overawed with an empty stadium. Wow. I thought probably like Joe Willock, for me in that City game, he just looked like it was all passing him by. Like
he looked like a deer in headlights, and
so I'm just worried that we've had 3 months to galvanise, talk, become pally. You know, the people like Soares has had time to fit in now. Nicolas Pepe, he's not an outsider to the squad anymore. He's had time now, plenty of time to be around people. And the mentality that I'm seeing that they've returned for me is shocking.
I think this is why we talked. I think it's the players. And people forget to realize too, he's had a deal with early subs and red cards. I think it's I think it's nine games he has to deal with either an early sub or a red card.
Yeah.
So like that fucks your plan up pretty bad. I don't think I mean, obviously I'm sure you could find a manager that's had a worse start than that. But I mean, that's a pretty rough start because I'm sure the managers have some kind of plan A, plan B, but it's to really work your subs around. And then on top of that, in our last game, he tried to do the double sub. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the fourth official or it was the ref that fucked up. And I think once that happened, he was really pissed on the sidelines. He was infuriated. And I think that kind of fucked with his head too. And that kind of made him panic and go, oh, well, I don't want to bring this guy on right now because I might want to sub later. So you were kind of just like he was almost like playing chicken. He wasn't sure if he was going to bring somebody on or not. And he ended up bringing on, I don't even know who it was. But, well, no, I think Tierney was the guy that was supposed to go on.
Yeah.
But he ended up bringing on someone else. So he didn't want to just bring Tierney on because he wasn't, again, he didn't know what he did.
We had Tierney and Eddie Nketiah, and Eddie Nketiah went on.
Yeah.
But the ref said, oh, okay, only one guy, carry on. And Tierney was left. But I get what you're saying. If that was around 60, 65 minutes, I can understand what you just said. But that was around 78, 80 minutes when there was the confusion. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the clock and it's getting on to like 85 minutes, 86 minutes. And no one's come on yet. And I'm like, what do you think they're going to be able to do as the clock is ticking down?
Right.
You know?
All right, boys, we're getting up against it here. We're working on 2 hours. Just real quick, let's do. Well, I want to touch real quick on Rohan's comment. Sheffield is in bad form. Is this weekend's game more important than tomorrow? Well, for European football, it is. I don't think we're going to get European football through the league. So, but that said, I think tomorrow's game is massive for the weekend's game, because if we lose tomorrow, that's 3 losses on the trot. Yeah. And there's no confidence then. So I think we need a result tomorrow to build confidence going into the weekend's match. Yeah. But in terms of, I'd say the immediate future of the club, then yes, I think Sunday's game at Sheffield is more important than tomorrow's game. But I think tomorrow's game is very important for Sunday's game. So I'm going to go first here. I don't know what to think tomorrow. I really don't think we're going to win. And I think, I'm going to go with a 2-0 loss. So look, we could keep going for hours on this stuff. We really could. But honest to God, and I don't necessarily want to get off on tangents here or anything else, but if Aubameyang doesn't score, who scores? Okay, we got a goal from Pepe, and that's great. At Brighton, but where else do the goals come from? We don't score. We just don't score. So if he doesn't score, we've got to hope and pray that maybe we get Mustafi heads one in off a corner. Pepe gets a blistering shot like he did against Brighton, but I just don't see where we score. And somehow or other, I think Southampton will nick 1, probably 2, and we go into Sunday making these teams look like prime Barcelona. So, Ryan, what do you think tomorrow?
We tied them 2-2 early in the season in November. I'm leaning toward like a 2-2. I think their defense isn't great. I don't. Their goalie is Alex McCarthy. I think we could really. I mean, I feel like I say this every week. Like, we should definitely score. And like even with Brighton, we should have scored. And I think Brighton's defense is a little bit. I know Brighton's probably lower on the table, but I value Brighton's defense a little more than I do Southampton's defense. So, but I don't know. I think Danny Ings. I'm telling you, I think Danny Ings right now at the club, he's got a bottle of Hennessy in one hand and his cock in the other, and he's just like, I'm gonna run fucking wild on them tonight or tomorrow, I should say. He's excited, and it scares me because that's definitely A, that's true. He's definitely doing that right now, and B, like I can't say no. I can't say no. Like it's just it sucks because I don't even think Danny. I mean, he's a decent player, but I shouldn't be like worrying about what Danny Ings is doing at 2:30 in the morning. But here I am.
Tony, what do you think?
I think we should win, but I said I wasn't to predict anymore, so I got the little 4-sided dice here, so we'll get our score line.
So both teams are scoring because if it's a 4-sided dice, there's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4.
3-3.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. If we score 3 tomorrow, I don't know. What do I do? I just don't.
You have to pod. You have to do race pod tomorrow with no shirt on.
No, nobody wants to see that.
Hey,
nobody wants to see that.
You never know.
Stan, what do you think tomorrow? What do you think?
You're asking me to give you a prediction about a football team that I now deem unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like even I used to be able to give predictions, and then it got to the stage where it's like, well, I can't give a prediction until I see the lineup because I don't know what the lineup's going to be these days. And under Emery, things always change, and a little bit now under Arteta. Now, even if I saw the lineup right now, I still wouldn't be able to tell you because there are teams that we should be beating. We should be doing a lot better. It's unpredictable, but I would have to agree with you that the FA Cup game is an important game because if you're Mikel Arteta, you're thinking, well, we've got a bad showing, but I would love to win a cup in my first season, and we're still in this competition. But in order to get there, I agree with you, Tanner. Tomorrow is important. It has to be a stepping stone because if we get this stuff knocked out of us again tomorrow, then all bets are off. How do you expect us to go in, on Saturday and get anything out of it? We need to somehow steady the ship a little bit tomorrow and put in some kind of a display where we can see what is happening. The players can understand what their roles are, so that by the time we go into that game at Sheffield, we can feel a little bit more confident about ourselves. So, I mean, it's been a while since I felt like this. When I was a kid, right, when we used to go on school outings, to the museum, I was that kid that could never sleep the night before. Even to boring trips to the fucking museum and shit. And I'm not going to be able to get to sleep tonight. I'm really looking forward, because for me, because of the time difference, it's a 10 o'clock kickoff. So as soon as I wake up tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, it's game on. So, I'm going to be in bed really early tonight, but it's going to be difficult to sleep because it's not because I'm excited for the game. It's more like I'm driving down the motorway and I can see in the other lane, on the other side, there's fucking police sirens. There's a huge fire, and I'm slowing down because I want to get a little look as I go by. And that's where I am. It's morbid curiosity.
I was about to agree with you. Like, yeah, man. Like, I'm really. It doesn't matter how bad they are or how pissed off I get or how much they break my heart. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Like, 1:15 is going to come, and I'm going to be like, let's fucking go. I'm going to be ready to run through a wall for the Arsenal, and then they're going to shit all over my hopes and dreams.
It's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
And one last thing I'd like to say. I kind of feel right now that at this moment in time, Mikel Arteta is making it really fucking difficult for me to love him. That's what I'm going to say.
Is that your final thought? Because I was going to go around and do final thoughts for you guys.
That's my final thought.
All right, Tony, final thought?
I share Stan's final thought there, but I'll go ahead and share a final thought for Rohan, still pouting because Stan broke his heart earlier today.
Real quick, what happened there? I missed this. What happened?
So we were doing on Hinckley, Andrew from Dove Square.
From Dove Square,
and what it was is he's quite good at devising quizzes. It was like deal or no deal. So he had a selection of our squad members, and they were numbered from 1 to 20, but not with their squad number. So number 10 wouldn't be Ozil, for example. And then you would pick a number. He would tell you the player, and he would say, okay, we are offering you 18 million for this player. And you had to tell him whether it was a deal or a no deal. And you could go around, you could choose one person from the panel to maybe tell you a little bit about that player to help you make your decision. And I got Aubameyang.
And you sold him for 30 million.
And I had to choose Rohan, I was torn, really torn. But I gave my reasons why I would take the deal. And I felt so bad, like for the rest of the podcast, I literally couldn't look at him in his square. I was literally kind of like, I felt so fucking bad, like to do that to Rohan, but
to break his heart.
Yeah.
Ryan, final thought.
I just hope Guendouzi fucks someone up tomorrow. I mean, that's just really it. I would like to, you would get me really more hard. It's not even to fuck someone up, just a shove, and maybe his players get behind him like that. That team morale is what I want. I want teamwork because teamwork makes the dream work. But if Guendouzi has to lay someone out and get sent off, that's my boy.
My baby.
All right. My final thought is I'm not really going to talk much about the game tomorrow because, like Stan said, this is a maddeningly unpredictable team right now. Instead, I'm actually going to give a shout out to my good friend Dan, who runs the Matchday shop over in London. It's right on Hornsey Road. Great little place to pick up Arsenal memorabilia. He is only open on match days, I believe. So I don't really know how things are going right now, but he does have a website. Just type in the Matchday shop into your search engine, and it'll come up. I just got a bunch of great stuff from him. Great guy. And like I said, I just want to give him a real quick shout out. So, and maybe down the road, Dan, if you do happen to catch this, we can work out a little advertisement arrangement. You know what I mean? So, Ryan, get your mind out of the gutter. I can see the wheels turning
I'm
right now.
on the website right now, about to drop. I'm gonna name drop you right now. See if we can get a nice, sweet deal. on some Arsenal.
You can't mention me by Tanner though. You got to mention the bearded gooner. So,
all right.
But, I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. So thanks to everybody in the comment section. Thanks for everybody watching live. Thank you everyone for watching in the replay. If that's when you happen to catch us, please like and subscribe to the channel. Everybody go around, drop your Twitter handle real quick for us. Stan?
You can find me at Stan_the_man68. Please look out for my post-match reactions, which go up on Cannon Fodder TV on match days. And when I'm not on this channel on a Thursday, you can also find me on Ray's channel, Arsenal Fan Circle, and every now and again popping up with Claude and the lads over on the Bansters channel.
Tony?
Val Prophet 420.
You want to spell it out for him?
TAOPROPHET 420.
There you go. Ryan?
I'm at Arsbros Ryan. I know people have been asking. We're coming back soon. We're gonna do a monthly review. Max is like a caged animal, and I don't want to repeat some of the things he's been saying, but get excited. It's gonna be a weird one, but I mean that in like the dirtiest way possible. And Manny's excited too, and Toby too. But you know, Manny and Max have been saying some pretty interesting things that I'm sure they'll say on the pod, and it'll be a good one. So
yeah, just ask you, Ryan, is Max the guy that was in the dancing video that was constantly heading around a football in every shot? Is that Max?
Yeah,
okay.
That's Max. Yeah,
I've never met Max. Okay,
skinny little Aussie crackhead. Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, we keep an eye out. We should be out with a pod in a couple weeks. So yeah, stay tuned.
Awesome. That's it for us. We are out of here. Everybody, come on, you Gunners. Catch everybody next week.
Lay someone out, Gendouzi.